Don't make a sound. Please don't fail me now. I got to stand my ground. I know I'm not a child. Please don't fail me now.
Hello and welcome to Inside the WSL. Now, the league may well be on a break, but we most definitely are not. The home nations are in action in their World Cup qualifiers and will be looking ahead to who might be crowned the FIFA best player in the world. But in the WSL, well, another week, another manager gone. We're not even halfway through the season and a third manager has lost their job. News broke this morning that Jonathan Morgan has parted ways with Leicester alongside the assistant manager Michael McConey and first team coach and Jonathan's sister Holly Morgan. Here's the statement from Leicester City Football Club. They say the football club would like to place on record its thanks to Jonathan for everything he has helped the club to achieve during his time as manager, which included promotion to the FA Women's Super League as FA Women's Championship winners. Now, the key part of this statement, as they go on to say, is that retention of its FA Women's Super League status is central to the club's vision for the long-term development of women's football in the city. The club feels a change in leadership is now necessary to give the team the best possible chance of achieving this in the remaining months of the season. It does mean then that the current head of women's football development, Emil Heskey, will oversee first team training as the team go into their match against Manchester United in the Conti Cup on the 5th of December. So, manager out at Leicester, but it's very much manager-ing at Birmingham. Scott Booth was sacked after 4 months. So it means Darren Carter has been named as interim head coach, and coming in as his assistant is Marcus Bignot. And I'm delighted to say that Marcus joins us on the show this week. Big congratulations to you, Marcus. How are you?
I'm good, thank you, Jess.
Yep, good to have you on. I mean, first question, are there not laws against you swapping between Aston Villa and Birmingham as you've done in the WSL?
Certainly between friends and family, that is the case. But, you know, that's the football world and how it works sometimes. And it's good to be back, and it's good to be having this badge back on my chest.
I was going to say, how does it feel though, Marcus? You're back at Birmingham Women, a club that you've been so synonymous with over the years, a club that you've achieved so much success with over the years.
Yes, I think, as you've stated, my affinity to the club, my first involvement was back in 1997. So spanning over 20 decades is my relationship with the football club. I'm a fan as well. So to be back in a very important part in the club's history, I'm delighted, and hopefully we can achieve our objectives.
Well, objectives, that's one way of putting it. Clearly you like taking on what would seem to be mission impossible. When you moved to Villa last season, you had the task of trying to keep them up. You've now moved to Birmingham and you have the task of trying to keep them up, even though they haven't got a win so far this season. You've had a few days to assess the situation now. How big of a job is this?
It's massive. The football club has made a decision on the manager, a really positive appointment in Darren Carter. Again, a person who personality and characteristics is much needed. A Blues fan as well, so he knows the club's DNA, what the club stands for, and it will be important going into the remaining games in this season, what's required, and his experience and expertise. I'm really positive and encouraged by the appointment the football club has made.
That's definitely a positive. Let's just take a look at the table. Birmingham at the moment in 11th place. As you've mentioned, no wins so far from the 8 games, just the point picked up so far. So how do you achieve that objective then, Marcus, of trying to push Birmingham back up the table? What do you and Darren prioritise to improve those results?
Well, we've got to put a structure in place. We've got to get them organised. We've got to give them clear roles and responsibilities within that structure and within that organisation. in terms of how we prepare the team to play. And if we do that, it's about getting the players then to their ability. And there is ability within the group, and that enjoyment part, which Darren speaks about, I think when players are playing under less pressure, they're able to showcase their ability. So let the pressure be on Darren and myself and the rest of the staff. Make sure the players have clear clarity and understanding of their roles and responsibilities.
And you moved to Villa at a very similar point where, you know, the team were relying on you to try and keep them up in the WSL. Do you feel like you learnt certain things about the way players work and players when they're fighting for their lives at the bottom of the table that you can use in this situation?
Most definitely. We spoke when we was at Aston Villa in terms of you can lead in so many different ways in terms of leadership, and giving those responsibilities back to the players, because ultimately it'll be those who will be going across the white line, and they're in control of the controllables. So for us, that starts at the training ground. It starts now, and hopefully now we can see all that hard work being put into play, put into practice when it comes to a Sunday afternoon in the WSL.
Now, of course, Marcus, you're not the only former male player to be coaching in the WSL, one of a handful, actually. Paul Konchesky has joined West Ham as their assistant manager, and he's been discussing their recent improvements in the league.
Yeah, it's been fantastic. It's been a great start, probably one of the best the women have had since it's been going in the WSL, but we've let a couple of maybe leads slip into draws, which it is acceptable, but sometimes it ain't the way it's done.
Good answers.
We would look back now and hopefully we could have had more points on the board, but it's been a fantastic start from our women, and long may it continue. I took obviously a different role last season at this club, but now going back onto the grass, it's fantastic for me because that's where I want to be. I want to help, and I want to help the girls to learn. To be fair to these girls, they're like sponges. They want to take everything of information out of you, and they remember every single thing. So it's really good, and I'm really enjoying it. All you know as growing up and playing football is the men's side. You really don't get to watch the women and get involved in any of it. But it has got big. It's getting bigger. Like especially this season, you see some of the games every week. They're on the Sky Sports, and I think a lot of people who wasn't watching women's football are now watching it because it's a fantastic standard. And you see internationals play every week. For me, it's only going one way, and it's going to go up and bigger. They want to know everything about everything, if you like, everything to do with football. They want to know, and that's fantastic because I love being on the grass, but I love talking football. And like, if I can help 1 millimetre, hopefully that will go onto the pitch, and we'll be a close knot and push into the top half of this league. We've got some fantastic women here. If we keep doing as well as we're doing, and we can attract other players to this football club, which we can, and things outside of this football club, what we try and do to help bring on women's football, it's going to be massive. And if we can keep doing that and getting the support that we're getting, keep doing okay every game we can, keep pressing with that league position, especially letting young people come and watch us women teams play football with their support, then I can't see why we can't get bigger as a football club.
Yeah, great to get the thoughts there of Paul Konchesky. Marcus, listening to that, Paul was excited about the growth of the women's game. You've been in and out of the women's game for, decades. I mean, how excited have you been about the recent growth, and how much it's improved since, I suppose, you first got involved in 1998?
To be part of it, I'm delighted to be part of Birmingham City again and helping and supporting the football club in any way possible. I'm back in a good place like I was when I first came in 1997, 98 with our under-12s with Karen Carney and Eniola Aluka.
Brilliant. You must be so proud of the journeys that both of them have been on. Karen Carney, of course, is a friend of the show. She's gone from world-class football international to world-class pundit. When you first met her as a young under-12, up-and-coming, just loving football, did you get the sense then that she would go on to achieve everything she achieved in winning countless awards and becoming an England centurion?
Jess, I'll be honest with you. When I came into the football club, the junior department was no longer, so there was no under-12s, 14s or 16s. And I was really keen on bringing back youth development and bringing back the youth teams. And I'll never forget the committee at the time. They said, we've lost all our players, we've got no junior teams, but there's one player who's a Birmingham City fan through and through, a die-hard, a blue nose. He doesn't want to play for anybody else, but she's got no football club to play here. Lo and behold, that was Karen Carney. So my first ever signing was Karen Carney, and we made sure we gave her a football team that she could train and play with. But to see the personality and see the growth of the character, I'll be honest with you, I didn't see all this coming. Like you said, the 100
Okay.
media work, I did not see that in Karen. But how great is that, what football does for you? Not only from fulfilled dreams and ambitions, but in terms of your well-being. And that Karen, she was a shy, she'd be that person who, she wouldn't be the loudest in the dressing room. She'd demonstrate her ability, demonstrate her personality on the football pitch. That's when her real personality and character came out, was on the football pitch. You didn't really see it off the pitch, but certainly now you're seeing that off the pitch, and I'm sure football has done that for her, and she surrounds herself with good people. But the bottom line is she's a very special person. So no, delighted to see the success of her, Annie, and so many others. I've had the fortunate pleasure of working with your Alex Scott. It goes on and on. To see these players now coming onto the other side, like the men, you see that natural progression, player into coaching, into management, into media, into director roles. To see that now in the women's game, delighted.
Good for you. And Karen Carney will be on this show next week. Did you speak to her before this interview? Did you get any media tips from her or anything like that?
No, I'm still a proud person. No, of course. No, I haven't. And I just want it to be natural so she can pick the bones out of it, Jess, and then give me some tips moving forward.
Brilliant. Marcus, it's been so good to have you on the show. Great insights from you. Best of luck for the rest of the season. We know you got a tough job on your hands, but it looks like you're going to enjoy every single minute of it.
No, we will. We will. Thanks for having me, Jess.
Absolute pleasure. Thank you very much, Marcus. Now, after the break, we'll be talking all things Reading with the woman who lives and breathes the Royals, their manager, Kelly Chambers. Stay with us. You're watching Inside the WSL. Welcome back. Now, our next live WSL game on Sky Sports is Reading against Chelsea. So who better to get an insight from than the Reading manager herself? Welcome to the show, Kelly Chambers. Now, firstly, I have to say congratulations, because what an impressive month of November you and Reading have had. Unbeaten, 10 points from available 12 in all competitions. And looking at that last game against Brighton, getting 3 points against a team like that are flying so high in the WSL is so impressive. What's been the difference after such a difficult start, do you think?
I just think it's the players sticking at it, the staff. I think what we've done is we know that the team have had to take a little while to gel because we've had quite a big transition of players this season. So we knew that would take a bit of time. But to be fair to the players, the staff, we've made sure that we've not left any stone unturned, making sure every game we go into, we've carried on preparing how we prepare and just making sure that we knew that this month was going to be massive for us, and I think we set that as a target at the beginning of the month, and credit to the players. They've been fantastic to make sure that it happens.
One of the players that's been performing particularly well is Natasha Dowie, back in the WSL, back scoring goals. How did that signing come about, and how do you feel she's settling in at the club?
To be fair, she settled in really well. She's someone that I've had my eye on for about 18 months. I spoke to her about 18 months ago and just wanted to bring her in last season, but she had already made commitments with Milan, and she wanted to take up that experience. So it was a case of 12 months later, let's have another conversation and see where she's at. And everything that she wanted, I felt that we could give her. We was the right fit for her, and I think she felt the same. And it was just about, she wanted to come back and compete in this league. So I think everything fitted at the right time, and we were just really excited to bring her in.
So why was it, do you feel then, that it was such a difficult start to the season, losing those opening 4 games? What was going wrong that perhaps is going right now?
Yeah, I think it's a mixture of things. Like I said before, it was just new group together that really, now I feel that I've really got a real togetherness. They've gelled really well as a group on and off the pitch. So that's taken some time for them to get to know each other. But yeah, we had a tough start to the season. I felt that we had a great performance against Man United in the first game of the season, and I feel like we should have come away with something out of that game. But I also feel like then you're going into Arsenal, who obviously are unstoppable this season at the moment. So I think our games were difficult. We just couldn't then build momentum from that. So it was a case of post that international break, after that start, we needed to refocus as a group and go, right, what are we going to get out between now and the next international break, and really set our sights on what we wanted to achieve. And we're really happy with what we've achieved this month.
Yeah, and that first win of the season came against Aston Villa. How key was that win, picking up those 3 points in improving results and being on this run that you're on now?
Yeah, that was the key. Definitely, the Aston Villa game was obviously the first game that we kind of earmarked and gone, right, if we want to do well in this league, we have to start picking up points against the teams in and around us. And we took a brave move. We changed shape from what we were previously playing from the last couple of games. So we took a leap of faith in the girls and took a risk, and it paid off. The girls were brilliant. We scored 3 goals and kept a clean sheet. So it was the best way we could have started, really, for that month.
Let's have a look at the WSL table, shall we? Because it makes for pretty pleasing reading,
Looks
considering
nice
the difficult
now.
start. It does, doesn't it? Reading there in 8th place. Now, obviously, as a manager, you don't want to look too far ahead, but considering the run that you're on now and beaten in November, are you looking at that 3rd place spot? Because you're only 5 points off 3rd place Brighton and Champions League qualification. Is that a realistic aim for Reading this season?
Well, first of all, look at the league. It's fantastic how competitive it is. It's wide open for anybody to take right now, which is great, which is what we've wanted. We wanted a competitive league, and it truly is one of the best in the world. So, but in terms of us, it's a case of we just need to take every game as it comes. We're obviously, compared to other clubs, probably very small. We're obviously one of 2 clubs that have their men's team in the championship. So it's been a tough start on and off the pitch for us, and it's a case of we believe in that we can climb up the table and finish as high as we can. But in terms of having pretty much a newly formed group put together, like I said, we had a massive transition in the summer window. To really, for me, it's about getting these girls to find their feet so we can have a foundation to keep building on in the following seasons. So for us, it's a case of we want to finish higher than we did last year, which is key for us. And if we can do that, that would be great.
And how are you able to balance being both the manager and the director of women and girls football, and on top of that, being a mum as well? I mean, your days must be pretty full on.
Yeah, it can have its challenging days. And like I said, I think the biggest thing for me is having the support network around me, whether that's family and help with family life, or whether that's having the right staff around me and the players to support me with that side as well. I think there's no hiding, everybody knows that I have a family, I'm a mum, but also I know that I want to grow this club. I want to push this club as far as it can go, and that's, I suppose, the other side of it, making sure that the pathway we're bringing through players, and the club have always been about that. So making sure that those ones that are coming through, can they step up into the first team? And that's my ultimate aim is to make sure that we have those players coming through, and then obviously managing the team day to day, which is the bit that's I suppose, the most enjoyable.
Okay, Chelsea, your next opponents, Kelly. And it means you're coming up against a player you know very well in Fran Kirby. I mean, you must be happy to see her do so well at Chelsea. But I mean, the last time she played Reading, 2 goals.
Yeah,
The time before that, 4 goals. You don't want her to play too well against you, do you?
No, yeah, Fran's a fantastic player. Since day one, I knew that she'd always be one of the best in the country, and if not the world. And even to overcome the stuff that she's overcome personally, and all her injuries and stuff, it is phenomenal to see her best again, overcoming all of that. So, yeah, she's obviously a threat to any side, as is any of their players. So we know, look, there's no hiding. We know it's going to be a tough encounter for us. But we've just got to make sure that on the day that we get a performance and we try and do our best in that game to try and get something out of it.
Yeah, you're right. There's no denying how strong of a team Chelsea are, and it probably explains why 4 of them have been nominated for the FIFA Best Awards. Let's take a look at the list. Harder, G, Kerr and Eriksson. Yeah. All Chelsea players nominated for the FIFA Best Women's Player. Also in the WSL, Lucy Bronze, Viv Miedemar and Ellen White make up that list. Some incredible names on there. And there's also a strong England theme in the coaches category as well. Chelsea boss Emma Hayes has been nominated alongside former England assistant manager Bev Priestman, who of course now heads up the Canada national team, and the current England head coach Serena Wiegman as well. Not a bad list, that, Kelly. So who would you pick then in terms of best player and best coach in your opinion?
Wow. Yeah. I don't envy anyone that's got to pick that from that list, because they are unbelievable players, unbelievable coaches. And it's nice to see there's 7 players in that players list that are playing in the WSL. So it just shows how strong this league is and how strong it's getting. And I think, that on their day, they are the best players in the world. And I think I like the fact that Magdalena Eriksson's on there. I think she's a player that tends to go under the radar. I think she's magnificent. I think she's one of the best players in the league. But being a defender, sometimes you don't get that recognition. But yeah, you can look at Sam Kerr, who's been phenomenal this year. I think she's truly playing some of her best football of her career at Chelsea right now. So yeah, I don't envy anyone picking from that list. But yeah, the coaches one, again, it's very strong. And if I had to really pick somebody, I think I'd go for Bev. I think in winning a gold at the Olympics in the short space of time that she did, having that squad, I think she's done unbelievable to achieve that. And yeah, if I had to pick one out of that list, I'd definitely pick her.
Okay. Emma Hayes, of course, on that list as well. How much will you enjoy pitting yourself against one of the best coaches in the WSL and Emma Hayes in your next match? You know, someone you know very well as well.
Yeah, no, Emma's great. For me, she's a bit of a mentor for me. But she's a phenomenal coach, person. She just wants to help everybody. But yeah, what she's built at Chelsea is phenomenal. It's unbelievable what she's done there, and obviously it's taken its time. She's known the path that she wants to take, the steps that it's going to take there, and the time. I'm just glad she's been given the time to be able to do that, and to see where she is now, and obviously get to a Champions League semi-final she's a fantastic coach and fantastic person, and she's definitely someone that would be worthy of that award as well.
Yeah, definitely. Well, looking forward to that matchup, Reading against Chelsea, which is live on Sky Sports. Kelly, good luck for the game, and long may your unbeaten run continue. Thanks for coming on the programme.
Thanks, Jess. I appreciate it.
So, as we mentioned, Arsenal's Viv Miedema also nominated for the FIFA Best Player of the Year. No surprises, really, as she continues to dazzle in the WSL. Only this weekend against Manchester United, she set another record. She becomes the only player to score against every single WSL side she's ever faced. Is there anything she can't do? See you next week.
Viviana Miedema once again comes up with the goods, as she so often does. Miedema, let's fly! Viviana Miedema racks up her 13th goal in just 16 appearances this season. The only WSL player to score against every side she's faced in this competition. There is nobody that can deny Viviana Miedema.
Sky Sports. Feel it all.